3, 2, 1. I was born in 1977. I was born at Mount Sinai Hospital, right there in University in Girard. And I don't know if my parents planned to have me there at Mount Sinai. I think they just were there that day, around in the area. So that's where I did my original damage. When I was younger, I lived all over the city. Lived in the West End mostly, we lived at Martin Grove and Finch, Kipling and Albion, Jane and Finch, lived at Caledonia and St. Clair. When I was born, we lived at Don Mills and Eglinton, and then I moved to Woodbine and Danforth, and that was all before I was 12.
I was, I guess, a fall day, and can't remember the year, it was the first grade, and Cab got switched into my class because he was misbehaving in his own class.
Oh yeah, as a clown for sure. Yeah, I was always the chubbiest and the biggest kid, and just I don't think I ever stopped talking. I think the only time I wasn't talking was when I was eating or sleeping.
He always says he put the ass in class, and that's kind of how he's rolled through life, just kind of cracking jokes. And I think it's also how he's kind of gotten such a good rapport with everybody he interviews, because he always kind of comes off as this jovial guy who's already your best friend and you didn't know it yet.
There's some parallels that could be made, dude.
It was probably grade 9 where my passion for sports really ramped up because of Electronic Arts known as EA Sports. When Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were released to the public and we could play video games in the winter, we could play the NHL titles or the Madden titles, that really ramped up my passion, because now I was playing with the players that I saw on TV, that I saw on the highlight shows.
He's always been a sports guy, and I think a lot of my love of sports came from him as well, because he was always so much more knowledgeable about it, and I think I kind of picked up on that from him.
He's very bright, very curious, asks a lot of questions, which at times might have been on the verge of being precocious.
I was a decent student, hit the honor roll a couple of times, but I certainly wasn't a great student. And I wanted to entertain people.
My idea was that he was indirectly trying to get my attention and expressing an interest in getting involved in some of our productions. So I suggested to him that I had an ideal part for him.
Little Shop of Horrors. And in Little Shop of Horrors, there's like a man-eating plant, and it would sing and all that. So I was the plant.
He's the type of person who draws people in. When he was into something, he was probably one of the most, or close to the most enthusiastic of any given project.
Getting those early reps in, when you're 14 or 15 and you're cracking jokes and the audience, is eating it up and they're reacting, it's an amazing feeling, and certainly laid the foundation for how I'm able to perform to camera and with athletes now in my career. Ladies and gentlemen, the man to my right has one of the most refreshing voices in hip-hop music. He's a platinum-selling artist, and he represents from Compton, California. This is Kendrick Lamar.
His taste in music is impeccable. It's predominantly hip-hop, R&B.
When I was growing up, my dad was always had music playing in the house. So that was part of his DNA that I absorbed.
Whenever I'm looking for a go-to track, I'll ask him, or I'll just go on his like Music Monday post, but he's definitely got a good handle on like the up and coming stuff for music.
Jay-Z's my favorite artist. I love what Pharrell did with Rihanna and Nerd. A song called Lemon.
I pull her with a lemon, not 'cause she ain't living. It's just your eyes get acidic.
He's got a great fashion sense. He's got a ton of shoes. If you ever been to his place, he's got racks on top of racks of shoes.
You know, the Badass Shoe Museum probably has less shoes than Cabbie.
So, like, listen, I'm not that stylish of a guy. I'm like, my own style. My interviews, cuffs up, tie, kind of loose, the after the work look. You know, I often wear sneakers, but that's my style. It's very simple. The prized possession in the sneaker collection are these. These are signed by Kobe Bean Bryant. And these are game worn. That game, he played against Phoenix, and I went to the game with my younger brother, Mike Richards, who used to play for the Los Angeles Kings. We sat courtside, and Kobe dropped 38 points on the Suns when Steve Nash was still on the Suns. So after the game, I got him to sign them, and these were originally for Dion Phaneuf. So I went, I got these ones, and I just told Dion, I was like, hey man, just come pick them up at the house. Never came by the house. There was a guy at school named Steph Gagnon he was in third year, I was in second year, and randomly, just some day, we're walking down the hall, myself and my friend Adnan Verk. He's like, hey, Headline Sports needs interns, give me your resume. So a week later, we're in a meeting, and then he's like, all right, you guys can start next week. So we get into this room, and we go to the Headline Sports, and there's 10 people in the room, 10 script writers. And we're writing scripts for Mark Hebscher and Greg Sansone. This is 1998. In that room, Adnan Verk, who's at ESPN, myself, Tim McAuliffe, Sid Sixero, who were at Sportsnet. So that was like internship, then turned into a part-time job writing scripts at Headline Sports, which then became The Score. So this is like 98 to 01, and then in 01 is when the idea of being a man on the street was born.
What's up, everybody? It's your man, Cabbie.
What's up, everybody? It's your man, Cabbie, back on the street and here at the Hard Rock Cafe.
What kind of rims you got on this thing?
You got like 8s. Is it the afro? Is it the out of the bed look? How tall are you, bro?
6'5",
How much you weigh?
250.
Yeah, me too. It's your man, Cabbie, back on the street with my man Brian, rocking his XL1.
On a complete coincidence, on the first night ever that I went out for drinks with other people who I worked with, Steve Koulias and Lisa Bowes were there, and they're two of the bigger name hosts on the network. And they were talking about the scriptwriter named Cabbie, and they were pretty much pressuring him to take a camera and go out on the street and do streeters just so that he could have some exposure. They thought he'd be a good thing for the network. I thought this was kind of silly, because if you're trying to showcase the guy's personality, how are you going to do that if he's not in front of the camera? So I just said, hey, I have a camera. Why don't I go out and help him?
So at 11:55 on Sundays was this new bit. And then like after 6 or 7 of them, I changed it to Cabbie on the Street. Walking up to strangers on the street is really hard to do, and then finding someone who's willing to talk to you for 2 or 3 minutes, and then hoping there's like one or two good sound bites in this exchange is also like, it's hard.
There was a lot of positive feedback, and there was also a lot of negative feedback at the time. Well, the positive feedback was fans and players. Negative feedback came from the sports industry at first. Cabbie was doing something that was very non-traditional, and he was getting some opportunities that other people who had been working their asses off for many, many years weren't getting. And it upset a lot of people. It excited a lot of people. People saw him as a way to expand the network, expand sponsorship, expand a lot of things. But there's a lot of people who are just like, this is not sports broadcasting. Why is this on the network? Why is this guy being allowed to go to these different places?
Okay, I'll see you later. Early 2002, he started at The Score, and he was also writing scripts. And then he's like, oh, I got some ideas. Like, I got some ideas for me. I'm like, all right, cool.
The idea of using a producer at the time maybe was strange for him because he wanted his creative control.
Eventually, in one of our conversations, he said, what about, I have an idea called Cabbie on the Street Hockey. I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. One of the first significant pieces, Cabbie on the Street pieces, took place right here in front of Maple Leaf Gardens. Cabbie on the Street Hockey, where I challenged random people. Part of it was here, another part was Young and Bloor, but this is nostalgic for me because I haven't been back here that often, and I certainly haven't been back in the middle of this busy street playing street hockey like a donkey. It was Dave Crick's idea to come to this landmark location. The last time a professional hockey game was played here was either Feb 1399 or March 1399, not sure. But anyway, until today.
And it's getting more emotional all the time, you can imagine. Listen to this crowd, would you? Scores! What a goal!
I really just wanted to make television, make content. I use sports to do that. Sports is, at its essence, a game, which is supposed to be fun, and it's entertainment. That's why we enjoy it. I understand there's a competitive nature to it, and it's a serious business. But for me, I enjoy the fun part of sports, and that's what I want. The reason I wanted to get into this industry is to produce and make things that were fun and entertaining that I would watch.
They would have a meeting on Monday. Dave would show up. Here's 10 ideas. And Cabbie would be like, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Oh, I like this one, let's do that one. Okay, I hate those two. And then they would go out and do 2 out of his 10.
Could you do a custom one for my man D, my producer Dave?
Hey Dave, it's Mike Tyson, and a little birdie told me you're a lazy so get up, guy. Get up and work out.
As time went on, and Cabbie started trusting him more, he started taking on more responsibility, and he became a major part of everything. I don't think the show would have reached, I know definitely the show would not have reached its success without Dave.
Every week we would go out and we would shoot, and I would have a signature sign-off where I'd say,
So that's it for me. I'm Cabbie. I'm here in Kelowna, and I'm with my man D. And I'm gone.
and Brian would be featured in there sometimes too. Like I think he was on camera maybe a couple of times, and he was certainly a character. We're all sort of characters in this little world. That's it for me. I'm Cabbie. It's the finale with my man B, with my man D, and I'm gone.
In between, I think 2002 or 2003 and 2005, he was at Sportsnet.
2002 to 2005, worked on NBA XL, which is a half-hour magazine show, and I hosted it with a lady named Namageni Kiwanuka. That's where I really learned how to be a producer, because I would edit my own pieces, my own interviews. Set up a one-on-one tournament with yourself, Jalen, Barron, Kmart, Stevie, and Cabbie. Who would come in last?
Cabbie.
Cabbie would come last?
No question about it.
In 2005, he came back to the Score, and we started doing the Cabbie on the Street segments again. And after a while, we built up a pretty good archive of those segments. And because they had great guests, I mean, we're talking some of the best guests in sports, like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan.
First we're in the gym, then the locker room, then the practice facility, then the limo, now the chopper.
For the sake of my own career, I needed to define myself as a freelance camera lighting person. And I wasn't going to do that as long as I was living under the shadow of Cabbie on the Street. I'd be very excited about a new client. And I could do all these things. I have all these lights and all this equipment. I can make this look like a great documentary. Oh, hey, can you put a camera on your shoulder and just maybe make it look kind of like Cabbie on the Street, but not exactly the same, but yet exactly the same? And I'd go,
He's like a huge part of the beginning of my career. Like, it was literally just him and I. It was just like one dude, camera dude, and then we're just out, like, harassing people and just coming up with stuff on the fly.
Those guys are incredibly loyal. They left the door open for me probably a lot longer than they should have. They were very helpful and still are to this day. I'm sure I can call up Cabbie and Dave, say, hey, I need a favor, and I'm sure they would do it like that.
It's not something that I don't think you would talk about it as much, but I know that it's probably something that he's encountered more than we realize.
I can only say what I've experienced by watching. And I think there are circumstances in Cabbie's career where I can't prove it. There's no proof, but it's just my observation and my opinion that there have been times where I believe he was treated differently because of his color of his skin.
There's been some uncomfortable moments, and like there's been some like At the score, I would just dress in a t-shirt and a baseball cap and sneakers, and I would look nothing like anybody in any room that I went in, unless it was the Montreal Canadiens or whether Joel Ward was in Nashville at the time, or it was Wayne Simmons in Philly, or Ray Emery with the Ottawa Senators. Like, I was the only black dude in a room.
Cabbie was definitely one of the few when he was doing it, and he's been doing it for so long. So I think that maybe he did break ground for other people that kind of helped them get into those positions, because Cab was doing such a good job in proving that, minorities have a place in this industry.
I attribute this line to Brian Burke, and because he's the person I heard it from. But he said, don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby. So all the tough things that I have to experience in order to get the segment on TV, nobody cares about that. They just want to see a new bit.
Nothing has ever stopped Cabbie. I don't care how one person may treat him or another. Cabbie has gone above and beyond any wall, any obstacle, because nothing will stop him. Not ignorance, not a no. He's an unstoppable force.
Randy is very much also the glue to our little crews. Like, I've been working with Randy for probably about at least a decade.
I, got thrown into it, and I went and shot with them, and I just thought, this is just madness. But I loved it immediately. It took a little bit for my head to get it wrapped around, but then I just fell in love with doing it. It's so much fun.
There was a shoot in Vegas before the Oscar De La Hoya Manny Pacquiao fight, and we were at Wolfgang Puck's restaurant, and in walked Will Ferrell, and he's wearing a fur coat, and he's wearing a fedora.
I'm like, hey, Will, my name's Cabbie. When you were in Toronto 6 months ago promoting Jackie Moon, we did a short interview. Do you have a couple minutes for another interview? He's like, okay. We have to do the interview in the bathroom. I'm like, no problem. I'm like, let's go.
I will, at any second, punch you in the nuts. See?
Yeah.
Right there?
Yeah, no,
Look where I stopped it. Look where I stopped it.
That's millimeters.
Yeah.
Not only did Cabbie hold his own, he was so calm, and he was so in the moment with Will. It was so impressive.
I left in November of 2010. Last show was on court surfing.
We left at separate times. I left before, and then Cab left. Just our time had run out there, that's all.
Then moved on to Maryland Dennis Show, which was a totally new experience for me. When I was pitching ideas, like, I'm going from doing stupid college dude humor type of stuff, where I'm like, I'm gonna go to this frat party, or I'm gonna go like tailgating, to like a more refined audience. So it was a big time challenge for me.
I thought his stuff there sucked. It was terrible. I just thought, why? You should just give up. No, I'm kidding. No, he was terrific. Cabbie's amazing. It was good, even there. Yeah.
His agent had reached out to us, and I had already had an interest in Cabbie from afar. So when that opportunity presented itself, we made sure we got Cabbie to come over to TSN.
And I was like, I want to move on and go to a different platform. I mean, it's the sports network in our country. It's the leader.
First impression of Cabbie was pretty much he's exactly the same guy that you see on camera, which if you're an on-air talent, that's a good thing.
I got a call from Ken Volden, VP of Content, who informed me that they were looking for a new producer for Off the Record. I wanted to know if I'd come in and interview for that, as well as talk about Cabbie coming over to TSN.
It kind of became clear that if you were going to take Cabbie, you were going to take David, because David was a lot of the brains behind Cabbie, or it was kind of a Batman and Robin deal. So if we wanted to get the full Cabbie experience, we understood we would take Dave on as well. Dave was a talented guy in his own right, so that was not an issue. I think Cabbie's a unique personality, and he has the ability to connect with people in a unique way, very personable way. And average person may do that with another person, but to be able to do it with $1 million superstar athletes, that's a really unique thing. And for whatever reason, the way Cabbie interacts with them, they trust him, they enjoy him, and it makes it a very unique connection.
When you talk to Cab, it's a bit different. He asks some different questions. He wants to kind of, talk about what's going on in your life, what's going on, around the world, as opposed to just always asking about your sport or your team.
I think it's just more of a laid-back, easy-going interview. I mean, I kind of know him a little bit away from the camera as well, and he's just, it's kind of nice to talk about other things.
I would say that in spite of his success, he's remained extremely loyal to his friends, and I know he has very strong friendships.
He's definitely one of those guys that's, as a friend, if he considers you one of his friends, then you're lucky because you know that you're in good hands.
100%. If you're one of his guys, you're his guy. You're his guy for life. He'll always be there for you.
He's my friend, but also he's like family to me. He has been there for me, and I hope that I've been there for him, yeah.
I want to be remembered as someone who, when it comes to interviewing, not just interviewing athletes, but just interviewing people, like, I want people to think of, oh yeah, this guy, Cabbie, he changed the game. I want to be remembered as a legend.
A question. You just, you know what I mean?
No, that's fair. That's a fair point.
This could be a rough Cabbie Presents right here.
Detroit Tigers were in the World Series, right? The priests, the seminary would not allow us to listen to the game. Really? Yeah. And they were playing the St. Louis Cardinals. I had to listen to the game, so I snuck a radio into the seminary, put it inside my pillowcase, so I could listen to the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Crunch out of the Stanley Cup.
Hey man, hold on. Hey, I'm in the
Wait, we're talking about.
What is wrong with you?
I'm fully clothed.
It's called man clothes.
I'm fully clothed.
You gotta give me my space. This is circumference here. You can't just walk up on a man in a towel and just give him a hug.
Yeah, but there's a radius here. I know there's a radius here.
Don't break the radius.
What's the shortest?
Does he do this to you too? Does he walk up on you in a towel and give you a hug?
Yeah, but I'm in my house in bed and he comes out. I'm just like, come on.
I have a lot of love to give Kobe.